In the silence of the night, thousands of winged creatures occupy the sky. Some travel across cities, while some flutter underneath a lamppost. These creatures are none other than bats, the malign wonders of nature. Bats have historically been portrayed as evil and unholy and are widely considered to bring bad luck, with the COVID 19 outbreak only adding to these negative perceptions and misconceptions. But this poses a big conservation problem. The most crucial thing about bats that people easily forget about is the ecosystem services that they provide. How they are excellent pollinators and help with seed dispersal and insect pest regulation. Thus, efforts to spread awareness among people and especially children about the ecology and conservation of bats is the need of the hour. In India, although negative perceptions of bats are not as strong as those in the West, bats are definitely not favorites, even among children. But we don't really know what exactly they think about bats. To find answers, as a part of my master's dissertation, I explored the perceptions of bats among school children in the Indian state of Maharashtra. I visited 4 schools, 2 in Mumbai, the 7th most populated city in the world, and 2 in rural areas in western Maharashtra, and held 2-day workshops to find out what children thought about bats and conducted a few activities and discussions to help them learn about them. But how do we capture something as subtle and complex as a child's perception of an obscure and unpopular animal? I used a combination of 2 unique and interactive methods of data collection, a factor analysis method called Q methodology and drawings. Q methodology involves sorting a bunch of cards with statements about bats written on them onto a large grid based on the degree to which a respondent agreed or disagreed with the statement. After a thorough analysis of the information I collected, I found interesting patterns in the way the children thought about bats. First, they showed a preference for aesthetically appealing and rare creatures, like the peacock or butterfly and the tiger or lion. Bats, however, do not fall into either of these categories. Consequently, children showing a preference for either of these types of animals showed very little preference for bats. Although the participants were curious about them, they knew very little about bats and negative perceptions were quite prevalent too. So, the environmental education sessions followed, focusing on the basics of bat biology, ecology, ecosystem services, and conservation. We had discussions, played games, did some interactive activities together, all with the objective of learning a bit about bats. For example, we played a game called Bat in a City, where a blindfolded bat had to catch the moth with the help of sound. The challenge, of course, was to do that amidst anthropogenic noise made by other students. Through this activity, the students learned about how urbanization can affect the behavior and ecology of bats. With the help of many such games and activities, the participants of our workshops learned about how bats use echolocation, what kind of things they eat, which fruits they pollinate, how COVID-19 is linked to them, and what kinds of threats they face. And did this change their perception of bats? Absolutely. Let us see what a few students have to say about how they felt about bats before the workshop and after.
मतलब मुझे बैट के बारे में ज़्यादा पता नहीं था, तो मुझे थोड़ा थोड़ा डर लगता था उनके बारे में. मतलब वो काटते हैं क्या इंसानों को. मला त्याच्याबद्दल काहीच नॉलेज नव्हतं. फक्त हॉरर मूवीजमध्ये वगैरे दाखवल्यामुळे मला त्यांच्याविषयी एक थोडासा राग वाटायचा की ते असे दिसतात, क्रूर दिसतात वगैरे.
वर्कशॉप के पहले मुझे बैट्स बहुत मतलब गंदे लगते थे और वर्कशॉप के बाद मुझे पता चला कि मैं गलत था.
और हमें सिखाया जो मतलब हमें पता चला कि बैट्स की कितनी प्रजाति होती है. और कोविड-19 बैट्स के भी डायरेक्ट हमारे यहाँ मतलब इंसानों में नहीं आए, ये भी पता चला हमें.
जो एक्टिविटी हमने खेली इकोलोकेशन के साथ, वो बहुत अच्छा लगा.
वाटलं की बाबा जे मला वाटत होतं ते खूप चुकीचं आहे. म्हणजे बॅट्स हे असे अस्तित्वात आहेच नाही, त्याचे खूप फायदे आहेत आणि आपण त्यांच्यासोबत जे वागतोय ते खूप चुकीचं वागतोय. ते आपल्याला बदलायला पाहिजे.
Q methodology turns out to be a very promising method to assess children's perceptions of biodiversity, especially for its engaging nature and presentation. Several children in my study thought of it as just another game, thus inciting a greater level of participation and interest in the data collection process. Although the method is meant for small samples, it can be a very effective pre-intervention assessment tool for environmental education programs. This research project, the first of its kind in India, paves the way for a wide variety of studies on children's perceptions of bats and designing curriculum and programs on the communication of bats, as well as other traditionally unpopular animals like spiders and snakes. This study showed that children are curious about bats and that bats make great subjects of learning and incite wonder and excitement. It is possible to positively change children's perceptions of bats, and all the ways in which bats help us and fill us with wonder make any attempt to do so not only necessary but also worthy and fulfilling.